John D. Valero, the super genius and a political expert. And here we go. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Testing a new camera out here. We're seeing what's going on here. Merry Christmas, by the way. Merry Christmas. Absolutely. We love it. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody out there. A lot going on. I'm realizing it's overnight, so there's probably not many people up here. But wherever you are around the world, welcome and happy holidays. A lot to talk about, okay? Yeah, like I said, I've got a new camera here. I don't have it fully dialed in yet with all the colors and the balances and everything like that. It's not quite there, but I do think it's an improvement. So far, I don't know. We'll see. I'll wait till we're done here and I'll judge it from there. But I think we still need some tweaks on it, players, but we're trying. We're trying. Anyway, switch platform. So it's a different big learning curve. So we're going to see what's going on. Anyway, let's just dive right into it. Big economic news, and there's a lot going on with the GOP. Now, I don't want to get into the specifics because there's been a lot of heat. There's been a lot of heat, players. A lot of heat, okay? But we'll cover it. We're going to cover it, and I'm going to give you my analysis, which is the most important thing. I'm going to give you my analysis because the analysis is really what's important. The personalities and who likes who and who said what to who and who's clapping back to who and all that. That's noise. That's noise. I mean, I'm not saying it's not important and everything like that, but we don't need to get into all that. That's mostly noise. Let's start with the economic news. Happy holidays. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. So I know. Let's put this out here. Eric, happy holidays. Any updates on GameSpot TV, Silicon Spin tapes? I have a lot of them. I do. Absolutely. Happy holidays to you, first of all. Absolutely. Happy holidays. I have a lot of them. But there's obviously things, I don't know how much I can put out there. I mean, there's different, I don't want to get into specifics and whatnot like that, but it does take a long time and there's a lot going on. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, if anything, beyond what I've done, but we'll discuss that later. But happy holidays to you. And thank you, Eric, out there. Appreciate you. No doubt about it. Okay. Now let's get into this. Let's get into this right now because this is important. First, let's start with the economic news because that is really, really important. Okay. And let's go with the GDP number. Now, I have a law degree, an undergrad from Berkeley, an MBA with honors, and a Master Communication 4.0 from Johns Hopkins. So I've studied a lot of these things a lot. A lot of people may not know. And I'm not putting any qualifiers on it. Wait. Sorry. Wait a minute there. Sorry about that. Hold on. I don't know where this is. This is just key. I mean, hold on a second. I gotta deal with all this. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. I think there's a way I can kind of work through this. So now I've got to kind of figure this out here. Give me a second here, folks. The U.S. economy grew faster. GDP was up big, and that is very, very important. That is very, very important, players. The reason I see, okay, there we go. Get this out of here. Ridiculous. We don't need any of that. Let me put this up right now. And the reason that it surprised people. It surprised people, players. Okay. It surprised people. And what we're talking about is much faster. Yeah. 4.3%. Okay. Now annualized rate of 3.8%, but I think the quarter had an annualized rate of 4.3%, the third quarter GDP. That is big. Oh, excuse me. Let me put this up here. There we go. That is big, players. Okay. That is big. That surprised some people. That straight up, in my opinion, let me see if I can zoom that in a little bit. There we go. That surprised some people, players. They weren't ready for that. They weren't expecting that. And I think that people really, like I said, not to overdo it, but I mean, I think that really, definitely surprised some people. They had estimated 3.3%. So that's a full percentage above. That's a full percentage above what they expected. Okay. Now the annualized rate is at 3.8%. Okay. And that was so that was, okay. So, we're getting so total annualized rate looks like it's 2.5% through all 3 quarters. Now, why is this important? It's very important. It's very important, players. because the economy is crucial. Trump made some big moves in terms of the tariffs, in terms of immigration, in terms of getting investment in the US, all these different things. And a lot of people are like, this is going to cause inflation. And he was trying to, he's fighting inflation. We're going to get to those. We got some information and stuff there. So a lot of things that he's been doing that are different. The big, beautiful bill, all that type of stuff. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work and whatever. You had a lot of people that were perhaps, critiquing that, casting aspersions, whatever, potentially, whatever you want to say on that. And, I think that it really surprised people about what is going on and the success that Trump has had on this. And I think that is a big, big deal. A big deal. Now, if we look here, now they're talking about there's going to be, tax relief. We're going to see that. We also can talk about the comparison between us and meaning the United States and other countries. We have here Fox News headline right here, Kristen Altis, Fox Business, and that is IRS CEO says over 94% of middle-class Americans will see tax relief. Okay, that's huge. Social Security recipients get up to $6,000 benefit. Okay, that's big. And there's been some discussion of maybe some kind of, check, refund, something, fill in the blank for the tariffs. People said that the tariffs were going to cause inflation. That doesn't seem to be the case yet. I think that potentially companies are passing through that situation and that they're eating on their end, so potentially showing that they had margin to concede to continue to have access to this country. And in fact, in some ways you can say, if you look at, I don't even want to get specific, but you look at, I'll just say generally across different sectors and classes, if you look at certain products, it'll be charged one price here in the United States, sometimes really, really high, and it'll be charged other prices, sometimes much less in other markets. But you still get a marginal profit. You still have a margin that you can gain above your cost by selling at a lower price in other markets. And so, in some ways, the U.S. subsidizes, other countries in certain respects, in certain potentially R&D and certain products potentially. Okay. And so I think that that's interesting. That's something to consider, something to think about. And it may be the case that we can have tariffs here and support President Trump's initiatives and, jobs here in the United States and things of that nature, manufacturing, lower prices, stuff like that. And it doesn't hit with that inflation as people were thinking that it might. We'll find out. TBD, to be determined. Right. But I mean, it can't be that the rest of the world most of the rest of the world can have tariffs. And that's fine. But if we have tariffs, the sky's falling and everything's, the worst thing in the world. So we're having good GDP, potentially better, tax implications or policies, possibly for Americans. We'll find out. We're also seeing something here. What else did I see? I saw some lower gas prices, holiday travelers. We're seeing that. We're seeing inflation coming down. I can't remember what the core inflation was. Mortgage rates fall. This is all Fox headlines. Let me share that. It's probably just better to share the headlines there. Let's go to Fox Business right here. 1 second. Let's get into that. Mortgage rates fall ahead of Christmas holiday. That's pretty. White House data reveals states with lowest inflation and the driving factor. I mean, that's interesting right here. Lower gas prices to save holiday travelers. That's amazing. Now, again, doesn't mean everything's 100% like whatever. Doesn't mean that there isn't still work to do. Doesn't mean there aren't problems. Doesn't mean that, this will continue and everything. Now, one of the things, because of the tariffs, GDP, one of the factors in GDP is the import-export thing. So to the extent that you are exporting more and importing less, then that's going to affect GDP. Okay. So that may be a side benefit of the tariffs, if you will. Something to consider, the balance of trade, that type of stuff. Something to think about there. Now, I will say that, and this is going to swerve us into I'm going to do a really short show right now. Obviously, it's overnight, and I may do a show tomorrow morning, right? Or which really later this morning, technically, for me in Eastern time. But you had JD Vance. And JD Vance, as I said before, is definitely the odds-on favorite for 2028 for the Republican nomination. It's not even close. In fact, I think we can go to that perhaps. Do we have that? Do we have that for 28? Whoa. That's interesting. We just had some Democrat stuff here. That's interesting. 1 second, players. That is interesting. Yeah, if we look at this, yeah, because we've seen this. 1 second. We've seen this. Let's go to that. Real clear politics right here. 2028 Democratic presidential preference, and look at that. You've got on all of these. You've got Newsom right there, 23.6. Harris, 21.4, still right there. AOC, 7.7. Buttigieg, 11%. I don't think Pete's a major factor in 2028 at the top of the ticket. Could come into play as a VP. I could see him as a strong VP candidate. Shapiro as well, although I think there was some discussion back and forth here with losing Pennsylvania. So I haven't followed the latest, so I don't want to speculate on that. AOC's trying to make some moves, but I mean, this is your Democratic Party right here. This is what it is. Pritzker's not happening. These three I see as VP potential. But is Harris going to run again? I mean, it looks like it's Newsom, but then again, here we go. Daily Mail, Harris 30%. I mean, I don't know. What do we make of that? Big data poll, Harris 11. So you're seeing a lot of delta out here. Atlas Intel has Newsom by 19. But I mean, wow. I mean, look at the whole California stuff. I mean, it's very interesting. Very interesting. If I have to, I mean, it's so early. I hate even getting into this. I mean, if I have to predict, I think Newsom's your candidate at this point. You know, I don't think they're going to run. I don't think they're going to run Harris again. She might run again, but I don't think that, you know, I mean, the Democrats lost and they don't want to lose again. I can tell you that. We'll see. I mean, I think she has to do a lot. I mean, it's not enough to do the podcast and then we're in this and books, and like, she's got to get out there and do something. She's got to really move the needle. She's got to like really reinvent herself and do the work between now and 2028. Not count it out. I mean, that's a serious number right there. Serious number. Definitely not counting it out. But in terms of right now, who's got the star power, the it factor on the Democratic side, I would say Newsom and AOC. So we'll see. Still a ways to go there. Now we did have. Let me see if I can get into this. Can I get into this for the GOP? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, maybe. Does this work? Let's see. Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. As we talked about last time, it's Vance by a landslide. It's not even close, players. It's not even close. And we talked about this. Let's dive into this. I mean, it's not even close. It's all Vance. And in fact, Trump Jr. is ahead of Rubio. DeSantis. We talked about that. Kennedy, interesting. That's starting to show up. But it's really Vance. Okay. So, but what's interesting about that is, you know, there's a lot more work to be done. And there's been a big kerfuffle, if you will, from some influencers and the discussion on Vance. And some people have said that, like, you know, I mean, Turning Point USA, and I believe Erica Kirk, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Turning Point USA has come out to, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. I think I've said that, has come out pretty strongly for Vance, in my opinion, at this point. Now it's super early. Now listen, I like JD Vance, absolutely, but what I think a lot of people are saying is that we want to see the MAGA agenda even more implemented. We want to see the parties and the politicians be responsive to the voters, not the donors as much. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the donors. I mean, we love the donors. Donors are very necessary at the with how we do our system and everything like that. No diss on the donors, but I think that the idea that for a long time, it's going to be insiders, it's going to be donors, it's going to be, and then voters can pound sand. Like I don't think it's happening anymore. I don't think people are going for that. See, I can see that like this my white balance keeps changing here. I'm trying to constantly fine tune a little bit until I learn this camera. But I think overall, we're getting there. We're gonna continue to iterate and dial it in and get better. And so to that extent, well, let's go to JD Vance here on his Twitter, and I'm gonna avoid some of the specific stuff because I think it got a little personal, a little nasty for sure, in my opinion. Well, let me rephrase this. I don't want to get in it. Let me start over again. Let's delete that. And again, not making any claims, not casting aspersions, all my personal opinion only, all for entertainment purpose only, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There was a back and forth between some different folks out there, and I think and some politicians, and potentially including JD Vance. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. So to the extent that we see something on his page, I probably not even going to engage in it. But I'm going to talk about, in general, some of these different things, right? So here we have JD Vance, and this is, and that's great. So Merry Christmas, everyone, absolutely. And JD Vance, very popular, and then Trump Vance, and I think he's done a great job. Now I believe this is his personal page. Then he has the VP page. So we've got that. And then JD Vance put this out here. Now, this is interesting, from Geiger Capital as well. GDP growth, USA 4.3%, Canada negative 2.6%. So that, again, that trade, right? So Canada definitely is a big trading partner, and certainly has been a big trading partner of the USA. UK negative 0.4%. So those are big, dude. Now, Trump put this out here. The tariffs are responsible for the great U.S. economic numbers just announced, and they will only get better. Also, no inflation and great national security. Pray for the U.S. Supreme Court, President Donald J. Trump. Okay. And so, and Piers Morgan put this out, and JD loves his little memes and stuff. And I don't want to go too, they did the Navy SEALs thing. I thought that was great, and that was pretty cool. I don't want to go below that, because who knows what I'm going to find there. And again, the vice president's awesome, stuff like that. But I do think I saw some back and forth a little bit. Let me just go to my main page over here. And then Elon's always up and putting stuff out there and stuff like that. So that's cool. So I think that, and then we have some stuff with the EU stuff. There's been some different things. Merry Christmas. That's awesome. Christmas Eve. Fantastic picture there. A great picture of the First Lady, Melania Trump, and of course, President Donald J. Trump. Getty Images right there. Andrew Cabal and stuff like that. That's fantastic. Anthony Joshua was out there. I mean, he did great. We talked about him. What a big winner he's been over the weekend. But what I wanted to say is, look, how do I say this? I think that, give me a second. I'm trying to be nuanced on this, and I'm not, it's not that I'm not trying to be offensive, or I'm not trying to be too clever or anything like that, but I want to approach this in a little bit of a different way, and I think a common sense way. And I think I do believe that, and I know a lot of these people, I think the people are checking out or peeping my stuff, peeps, because when you even have Ben Shapiro peeps, and I'm not making any, well, you know what? Let me stop. I'm not even gonna get into all that. So let's totally reframe that, redo that. I'm not, let me revise and extend that and delete that. it wouldn't surprise me in general. Okay. I mean, whether I don't care who you're talking about. If peeps are seeing my stuff and we all look at each I'm looking at their stuff, I mean, they influence me and and I might be influencing them. I think that some people have figured out that, we're pretty smart in here, that I'm a super genius potentially. And well, that's a fact. And, but they may, potentially they may have figured it out and also a political expert and all that type of stuff. Anyway, it's not about patting myself on the back. What I'm saying is what I have been saying. Here's what I want to say. What I have been saying is coming true. And that's like a routine thing for me. And what I have been, my analysis has been very, very, insightful, if not precise, in my opinion. So, meaning this, we may be moving in. Do I agree with, subscribe to, condone a lot of the hyperbolic, some extreme discuss, what negative, no, I'm absolutely not. I'm not endorsing any of that. I mean, I am what I say. As an analyst, I have to analyze things and what I see and the potential impact, in my opinion. And my analysis has been on point. And what I'm seeing now is it used to be, now, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how I want to say this. So I think it's a very good point, and it needs to be said, but I want to be very, very careful in how I say it. If you look at the Democratic Party, and this will make the analogy, and then we're coming to the Republican Party. It used to be, and Tucker kind of made this point, you're either for equal rights and against discrimination for everyone, or you're more for a preference or whatever. And I'm not talking about what he's talking about. That's just a logical point on across everything. If you look at the Democratic Party is, hey, I'm this, hey, I'm that. And everyone's trying to, it's almost, some people say there's a lot of, there's identity politics, right? And so on the Democratic side, that was always a strength. So we had, Karine Jean-Pierre and some others. These people are all, celebrities, famous, whatever, public figures, in my opinion. Historic and the first this and the first that, whatever. And again, not making any comment on that whatsoever. We're all for everybody. This is America, land of free, home of the brave, land of opportunity, everything like that. I want the best for everyone. Love everybody. I'm talking politically now. Follow what I'm saying. So that was always a big asset on the Democrat side. Similarly, since Reagan, the Republican Party has tried to do the big tent thing. Hey, we need to reach out to this community, reach out to that community. We had Mayor Suarez down in Miami try to make a presidential run. We had Jeb Bush before that. We had, in fact, when I was a kid, I literally went to the Republican National Convention. I'm dating myself, a long time ago. Maybe I shouldn't say which one. I've been to two of them, players, on the floor, not as a delegate or anything like that. But I was, this was part of Hispanic outreach. Okay, long time ago. Okay, and that's great. Now, nobody's against that. I mean, again, whether it's broadcast, whether it's politics, and I've tried to say this to some of my friends or, acquaintances, colleagues, whatever you want to call it, people that I talk to on X, some big players, some billionaires, some heavy hitters, and regular people, whatever like that, people in the media as well. Like it's a game of addition, not subtraction. So when you start canceling people, and I've said this, and Tucker said this, and Megyn Kelly says this, when you start trying to cancel people and gatekeep people, whatever like that, that's not good. Even if someone's saying the craziest stuff and shocking stuff, and first of all, if it's not obvious at this point, and I'm not alleging anything, whatever like that, I'm speculating hypothetically that perhaps, and you insert the name, if particularly someone that has a big audience, or maybe having a big audience or gaining an audience, might be doing some performative stuff, might be doing some shock jock stuff, particularly if they had a background maybe in radio and stuff like that. I think this is starting to dawn on people. Hello, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, do you take everything Conor McGregor said during his entire MMA run? Is that Is that, Colby Covington? Was that always Colby Covington, or was there a little bit of a character in there? Chael Sonnen. I mean, I got with Chael Sonnen. I was at Cesar Gracie's. I talked about that. Chael Sonnen before the Anderson Silva fight. He talks to me. He does something. He eventually, created the bad guy character and stuff like that. I'm not taking, I don't want to get into all those discussions right now. And so, if someone's doing everyone's got to be responsible. I'm not getting anyone off the hook or anything like that. I'm not making excuses for anybody. At the same time, you don't get mad at a comedian. You don't get mad at a movie. You don't get mad at some music stuff or rap lyrics or whatever like that. I mean, some people do. I mean, I get it, but it's like, he goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You know what I mean? I mean, don't like you can criticize something, you cannot like something, but if you suspect or think or or whatever it is, and then you don't get you're not going to get pulled in on it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wouldn't go to a professional wrestling event and be, oh my gosh, they killed Hulk Hogan or whatever it is. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. And definitely. Whatever, Cody Rhodes, whoever, the champion is now or something like that. I haven't followed it super, super closely. Doesn't mean there isn't physical stuff there or whatever like that. But you just see what I'm saying? Like you can't, I don't take Peter Pan the movie literally. So I think that's something to think about and to consider. Now, weaving these two things together. Why am I saying this and why this is important? Follow this now. I mean, I know sometimes I talk long and I'm super genius and this, that, whatever, but I mean, believe me, I got stuff. I'm going to land this plane. The mistake is to take it literally. You can say what you want to say, and that's over like that. And people doesn't mean don't take it seriously. No one's saying that. Nobody's saying that. Okay. And nobody should be saying anything that's in jokes or whatever, say anything bad, whatever. But again, I saw Eddie Murphy Raw. I haven't seen it for so long. #1 box office comedy thing, I think, for at that time, maybe all time, whatever like that. And it's like I got through a little bit of that. I mean, I'd seen it the whole thing when I was a kid, and my wife just couldn't. It was too much. And this is like how many years ago? Eddie Murphy, and he's super talented, everything like that. Richard Pryor said some, it's also, let me go back and go forward. And thank you for your patience, because I don't think anyone's said what I'm going to say right now. That I've seen, what used to be a strength of the hammering on the diversity and the identity politics and all that, particularly on the Democratic side, that has morphed over to the Republican side, because the Republican side did have again, both sides are fighting for as big a tent as you can put together to win and keep the coalition together and be able to advance your policy. So, there's always been a very close 40 with 20 in the middle, 45, 50. It's been those kinds of elections. So being able to expand your base is fantastic, but not at the expense of the base. And now, because of these discussions that have been going on, whether it's MAGA or, other things, that are out there, or H-1B visas or tariffs or, foreign policy or global stuff, or, there's so many things that you could put in there. Now the conversation has shifted. Now, that doesn't mean that you get into casting aspersions and worse sets of identity politics and devolve into, negativity and chaos and all this type of stuff. That's nobody's saying that. But I think we're at a point now where people are like, hey, I don't want to be in a situation where I basically can't apply for a job. I can't marry someone. I can't get a date because I have no economic prospect, whatever that it is. That, if 30%, 40%, 50%, 70%, whatever feels like America or the politicians or the policies are not working for them. That's not going to work anymore, players. And just calling people, racist, sexist, this and that, whatever, is not going to work. And so the idea what Tucker and Megan and Bannon and so many others, Candace and other, again, I'm not taking up for anyone, whatever, and others have said for so long, is that we're all for free speech, okay? And, you're not going to gatekeep people and shut people out and just and cancel people. And all. Those days are over. The genie's out of the bottle in this respect. You may get one or two or this and that, whatever. Or maybe this person's not invited to this event or whatever like that. But the internet, the messages are getting out. You can buy a network, you can buy this, that, whatever. But then, you still have to get the ratings, players. And if this person, gets canceled, then this other person, because you can't cancel ideas. And people just know whether a government's working for them or not. And so it's, again, it has nothing to do with any even specific issue. It really doesn't, because this could go to the Stock Act, this could go to the insider trading stuff, this could go with, someone told me this, and again, I've been out for a while, but I've been inside politics for a while. Been involved in campaigns and advising, being a consultant and stuff like that. Some high level stuff, including 2 U.S. Senate campaigns, coast to coast and stuff like that. Primaries. And it's like, dude, some people feel like if they get elected, certainly his office is almost like they, hit the lottery or something like that. I'm not, casting aspersions or making any specific claims or anything like that. But I think if you make it 2 terms as a representative, you get your pension for life, or you get, great health insurance, you get all kinds of different stuff. Forget about the jobs afterwards and lobbying and stuff like that. So and then I've heard some people, I think Shank and some others said some Congress people talk to me well, why would you want to give up your show on MSNBC? That's what they want to do. So it's almost like this careerism in this neck. And even Matt Gaetz just said to Tucker that they're always thinking about the next level and the next thing and how to work themselves up. So it's this hierarchy thing. But what about the public service? Are you taking care of constituents? And if people feel like their needs aren't getting met, to what extent is your legitimacy diminishing? And so where we're at now, in my opinion, is yes, some people may say some hyperbolic things, some nasty stuff, and that should be called out and stuff like that. And maybe some of it's done as shock jock, and maybe some of it's done to get clicks, and maybe it's rage bait, and we can have all these discussions. But at the end of the day, that's discussion is over here. That's fine, but over here, you still have to do the analysis of why is that getting traction? Why are people looking at that? Why are they getting clicks? Why is their popularity increasing? Why are the insiders freaking out? Why are some of these other people that have been on the insider or respect whatever? Why are their numbers going down? Why are people, why are Trump's polls going down? It's not on the Republican side. It's not just on the Democrat side, even though, so what's happening in Bulgaria? What's happening in Latin America? What's happening over in the UK? What's happening globally? So you put these things together, and at the basic level, I think it's very simple. People want a fair shot. People want to know that they have a chance to succeed. I don't think anyone cares about all this identity politics stuff. Like we're all human beings. It's all silly. I can't get into, all that stuff. But that's why I don't want to get into any specifics, because I just don't even want to engage in that type of stuff. Or give it any kind of airing and stuff like that. That doesn't mean who knows, maybe down the road. If things need to be addressed at some later point, then we'll deal with that then. But the underlying political issue is, and again, this camera may cut out, so I have no idea. That I didn't fully charge the battery. I don't know how much it's going to drain on this. I do hear that the batteries do go a little faster, and so I got to be a little bit cognizant of time wise here. So far, so good though. The underlying political issue, though, is even though Vance is leading and others, if There is a need on both sides. Look at Mandami. Look at what's happened in Seattle. Look at me. We were seeing it globally too. This is no isolated thing. It's not a one person or one influencer thing. It's not about that. People want results. Now you're seeing, I think the Trump administration 47 is leaning into this, tariffs, manufacturing, jobs here. There's been some, he's letting 600,000 or whatever it is, a lot of Chinese students over here for the universities. There's still a lot of H-1Bs. They're trying to adjust some things. I mean, and again, we want to be open. We want the best talent in the world, and we are still home of the free, land of the brave, land of opportunity, stuff like that. It's always a balance, but I think things got so out of whack and so sort of the deck was felt like potentially some might say possibly that the deck was stabbed against them of the middle class or whatever, the average American, stuff like that. It got a little too out there. So, and someone else said this too. It's like, dude, I mean, I was talking to someone offline, like, it's going to take a while to turn this stuff around. I mean, it wasn't, Rome wasn't built in a day, so to speak. And this didn't all happen in a day. You didn't build up all the debt wasn't built in a day. And all of, the border wasn't open for one day and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of things to be addressed. That's not easy. And there's a lot of different forces, different constituents, different donors, different voting blocks want different things for the president. Same thing on the other side. So I think on balance, I mean, Trump's done really well, but I think there is a clear warning sign, particularly on the Republican side. Actually, with both sides, it's not going to be business as usual. It's just not. The parties may want that. The donors may want that. DC, the insider swamp may want that, but I don't know. They didn't want Trump. They didn't want Trump in 16. They didn't want Trump in 24. And what happened? So I see big tectonic shifts in play. And so going back to what I said, what used to be your strength before with the outreach and diversity could potentially, if mishandled, of course it's a strength, but it could also bring some potential weakness if, as Tucker was saying, that is seen as a preference, not a principle, kind of morphing over his analogy and stuff like that, meaning that I think everybody's listen, I'm forever love, opportunity, peace, prosperity, respect, liberty, equality, freedom, everything for everyone, of course. What people want fundamental fairness. And that's a huge aspect of this country and stuff like that. So I think, so it's free speech for everyone. And I think we have to be also careful how we talk about, certain things and whatever. I mean, and I think, so it's very, very simple. It's very simple. We have, go to work for the people, make it work for America, represent your constituents. Simple as that. In terms of the mechanisms and the specifics, it can get complex. And I see people, again, I go back to this, talking down on student loans, we're going to garnish wages, we're going to be harsh on them. Okay, I get it. But some of these kids, they can't get jobs, bro. So this is a perfect example. It has nothing to do with identity and everything. A lot of these kids, and again, I have student loans, stuff like that. So, I mean, that's my bias and full disclosure on that. But it's like, dude, a lot of these kids can't, I'm coming from the top schools, coming from top graduate schools. They cannot get jobs. And now they have $200,000, you go to Harvard, MBA, Wharton, Stanford, a top 20, whatever, you come out with $250,000 of debt. Now you didn't get a job. Now what? Now you're going to garnish. I mean, no one's saying, you obviously, of course, pay your loans and everything like that. But then they see big subsidies, big tax cuts. They see capital tax, at half the rate of income. They see Silicon Valley Bank bailed out and all this. But you didn't read that? Well, contract's a contract, right? How's that different? PPP. They see the welfare fraud and stuff. And again, they see people, with protected status coming over to here, getting subsidies and getting, this and that and getting these jobs. I mean, no one's saying everyone needs to play by the rules, but this is what I'm saying. People feel like maybe they're not getting a fair shake. And that's the whole boomer conversation, everything else. And I'm not getting into that, but I'm not taking a side. I'm not condoning any of that type of discussion. What I'm saying is those discussions are out there. And there's a lot of very frustrated kids, and and we have to speak to that and do the work. We have to do the work to be able to get to a place as fast as possible where everyone feels respected, and then they have, it's not just a feeling of respect, it's of course all that, but I mean where people feel like they have an opportunity, and that opportunity is real, and fairness and opportunity and all those types of stuff. And I think that there is a little bit of a situation where you couldn't get top jobs if you didn't go to college, and then the college was cost so much, and the government subsidy. There's a little bit of how do I want to say this? Psychological pressure, and you can put some other description in there too, that you have to go to that was the path. And people feel like to be successful, and people feel like, hey, I did everything they told me to do, and now they're, people feel like they're punked. So we got to work through this. Here's the reality: whether it was home prices or COVID or the shutdowns or supply chains, the open border, there's medicine that we have to take. Corrections. People are going to take some else. As long as people feel like it's fair, and we do this together, nobody wants to take the L. You know what I mean? Like, then I think that people are on board with that. And you have to talk them through it. But there's got to be a path to do that. And you have to try to work through that as best you can. And, I mean, I'm a capitalist and stuff like that, but obviously, a billionaire or someone that has had a lifetime to acquire assets or different things like that can take a little bit more of the burden than some kid that's got $250,000 of debt and has no job. You know what I mean? So politicians are going to have to speak to and have to deliver for the American people, and that's why that's one of the reasons. A lot of other, along with moral and all kinds of foreign policy, all kinds of other stuff. People are tired of sending the money over there, and tired of going over, to foreign wars and all this stuff, and foreign aid and all this type of other stuff. And we're seeing some I just saw the other day, nonprofit, $1.1 million salary or something like that. Just crazy. So, bottom line is, it's one thing to get the nomination; it's another thing to win. And I think that, people, and we've seen it in these midterms, stuff like that, people will sit home. People will not be involved, stuff like that. And so I think that, we're not in a situation where being a lifelong Republican voter, it's like, oh, you don't like it, you just got to pound sand. What are you going to do? Vote for the Democrat? Well, people just won't vote. We're in a different space now. And so I think people are going to have to see. And someone said, people are saying that, like, why are you always supporting Van Zandt? We're not even out 2025 players. So I mean, I'm a big fan supporter. I was early on the bandwagon, leading the bandwagon to have him be vice president. Like, I think he's done a heck of a job. I think he's done a phenomenal job. But everyone's going to have to put up or shut up. People are going to have to show what they can do, Vance included. And you're going to have to really deliver for people. And I think that Team 47 is absolutely up to the task. But I think we have to, people can have their opinions, and they can have their own ideas, and they can have their own pet issues, and that's fine. But we got to pivot off that and deliver for, again, you got to go where the numbers are, dude. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm broadcasting, I don't go for this super, super ultra niche audience, stuff like that. I'm trying to go for the biggest audience possible. Particularly not to the detriment of that niche. Like, I wouldn't come on. I've had talk shows on major markets around the country. Miami, Tampa, Sacramento, Salt Lake City. Philly and San Francisco, stuff like that. I don't go on. I've done TV stuff. I don't go on there and talk about like the yellow hummingbird. Migratory patterns of this. Nobody cares, bro. That's the difference. So that's where we're at right now. I think that it's to the extent that people want to cancel people and call names and you can't be heard and you have to take it and and focus on these other things other than what's going to benefit the American people. I think that's not a winning issue, and I think people want to see real progress. It's a little bit of a nuanced point. It's probably simpler than I'm making right now, but I just kind of been thinking about this, and that's what happens. Like I know what it is, and I can half get it out at first, and then, but understand what I'm saying here. It's a real paradigm shift politically. Doesn't matter what you think about it. I'm just telling you where the politics are. It's a real paradigm shift right now. Where again, it used to be, hey, the identity politics and the victim status, particularly on the Democrat side, whatever like that, that was a real political asset and sometimes a political weapon and stuff like that. And again, I'm not making any comment. I'm just telling you what the political effect is. Now that almost becomes a negative. It's like it's a great positive. Again, what I mean, again, we're all for diversity and we're all for growing the tent, but it has to coincide and it has to align and has to work with policies that are going to benefit the biggest amount, if not the majority or super majority, if not all Americans. And everyone has to feel like they're being treated fairly, and the voters have to feel like they're really being represented as opposed to the donors. And it's not an easy thing, especially if you cut a big check, and whether it's a 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure check. It's hard to take a back seat, but the donors have to be willing to take a back seat, and that's not easy, I don't think, for some of those folks and stuff like that. And again, that's both sides. So that's what I'm thinking. I may be wrong. I may be right. Again, peace, love, freedom, opportunity, equality. We love everybody. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Happy Hanukkah, everything. And I'll probably try to, well, we'll see. It's late. I don't know what time I'm going to get up and stuff like that. And I've got to do all the family stuff, of course, but I may do another show. We'll see what it is. But anyway, that's my thoughts right now. I wanted to say that. I wanted to be able to touch on it without getting into all the specifics and personalities and the negativity and some of the comments out there. And I also would say that it's hard because you're a public figure. You have to address things. But I mean, I think so much of this is performative and stuff like that. It's a different spot. Like radio, with the shock jock, and that lended itself to a certain thing. And we're now with the internet and again, I don't want to get into a big, longer discussion here. I'll reference the rest of what I said earlier. But I think that as much as you can from an analytical and political perspective, put that to the side and say, okay, well, why are people gravitating to that? Why are people getting clicks? What's resonating with the American people? What does this mean? What does this mean? People watch professional wrestling. They know that's not, that's sports entertainment. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think there's a huge percentage that think that, that there was a real fight between, Spike Dudley and the Big Show or something like that. Right. And so, just to use an example, whatever, I don't know if that match ever happened, but I'm just saying. So, but what is the message? So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. So to be continued. And I think, like I said before, all for free speech, all for maximum liberty, stuff like that. And I think sometimes it's rough, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes people say things, and of course you don't have to condone it, and you can condemn it, and that's all fine. But I think overall, writ large, globally, like on X and stuff like that, like I think this conversation, I think we have to keep having the conversation, and we have to keep iterating, and we'll get there. I believe, I'm an optimist. I believe in humanity. I'm pro humanity. I'm pro everybody. So there we go. All right. Anyway, I am John D. Villarreal, the super genius and the national champion and the political expert. And I hope that was somewhat useful. And we'll see if people start picking up on some of these things we said. But anyway, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And I will see you next time. Best to you and your family. God bless.